Authenticity is a rebellion. Owning your truth is the ultimate act of defiance in a world that rewards conformity. Your uniqueness, yes, your uniqueness is useless unless you own it. Now, I'd like you to think for a minute, what is your uniqueness? Now, in a given moment in time, it might be as simple as your age, your gender, the color of your skin, where you come from, your religious preferences, and your sexual beliefs. And that thing that you find unique in yourself is something that you have self-imposed resistance, a hindrance in your life, and instinctively you will know what that is. For me, I'm the son of first-generation immigrants. My father came from Mauritius, my mother came from India, both with strong religious beliefs and principles around deep servitude. And for myself and my siblings growing up, we had the model of parenting around conditionality. Now, what that meant was there were a series of conditions around how to behave, what to say, how to perform, and meeting these conditions would mean he would experience love. But more primal than that, satisfying these conditions would mean survival. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my parents dearly, and they have done wonderful things for me and my siblings. And they did the best they possibly could with the tools that they have at their disposal. And over the years, I became really proficient in meeting these conditions, right? I became really good at performing. And so I performed well at school, I performed really well at university, and I performed to get my first job in the city. I had made it, I got my first job. And stepping into the world of work, I encountered a whole new set of challenges. I found I just didn't fit in. The whole city way of working in the corporate world had a series of expectations that I was unfamiliar with. I didn't speak in the way they wanted to. I didn't know what they needed me to. I didn't behave in the way they expected me to. But I'm a performer, right? So I put on my facade, I show up to work, and I get things done. And it worked. I climbed the corporate ladder, day by day, year by year. And I made great progress. I got my promotions, I got my pay rises, but at what cost? And I remember over the years, I would get performance reviews and comments that were like, Zaf, you're not steely enough, you're not aggressive enough. And other comments like, you're too sensitive, you're too kind. With those ways of being, you're not going to make it in this world. And my favorite one was, Zaf, you don't dress corporate enough. Those floral ties that you wear, they don't fit with the way of being in this world. But I performed. I stayed. I performed to survive. Until one point, there was an opportunity to step into the world of entrepreneurship. I was going to stick it to the big corporates, own my truth, and become my own boss. Yeah. But my business partner was driving fancy cars. He had the watch, the penthouse apartment in London. I was like, I want a piece of that. That for me was the definition of success. And why not? That's what society deems as success. And so I stepped in for that world, and I hustled, and I worked hard every single day. And I gave that business everything. I gave myself to that business. I showed up early. I stayed late. But the other thing was, I was a young father. And so on one hand, there was Zaf the entrepreneur, showing up, committing to the business, working hard, and making sure the stakeholders' expectations were met and my business partner's expectations were met. But on the other hand, there was Zaf the father, Zaf the husband, with expectations to his wife and his kids. Now, you can well imagine that these two things were at odds, day in, day out. And I'm finding myself with this impossible balancing act And after years and years of trying to meet the expectations of my family, meet the expectations of my business, I was drawn thin. And so there came a point where I said, you know what? I'm going to remove myself from this equation. And I decided that I was going to end my life. Now, I never would have imagined that suicidal thoughts would have entered my mind. It was a dark place. It was a scary place. But the truth is that this is the reality for so many people. Suicide is still one of the greatest killers globally for men and women. For me, it was a catalyst to really go back and look, what am I doing with myself? What's happening? And so I doubled down on personal development. I went through therapy, coaching, mentorship, hypnotherapy to really uncover what's going on with me. And the common theme that kept on arising is, Zaf, you're living for other people's expectations. You're trying to do best for other people. You're performing for other people. You're not doing anything for yourself. It started to make sense. And I remember one time I was having a coaching session and I said to my coach, gosh, man, I am tired. I'm exhausted. I'm running day in, day out, this business, this family. I'm performing up here and the industry's down here. And I happen to make this difference because I'm different. And it feels like I'm running every day with a massive parachute on my back. And it's slowing me down. This resistance is tough. And he said to me, exactly. It's like, what do you mean exactly? It's like, what happens when you take that parachute off? And I thought for a minute, if I've been running for so long with this parachute on my back, then my legs are stronger. My body's stronger. So this self-imposed resistance in my mind was actually the thing that was making me stronger. And that was a moment of realization for me. Coupled with some really careful hypnotherapy and subconscious reframing, where I went back to have conversations with young Zaf, I was able to step into my truth and understand I don't need external validation from anyone. I can validate me. And that was a powerful moment of realization in my life. I could set my own vision. I could set my own path. And I could follow what I wanted, rather than that of expectations of others. And it really enabled me to step into a life without limitation. Now, I want to take you back in time to December 2006. I was in my final year of university, and it was a Saturday morning. I was getting ready for a weekend of dance rehearsals. We had a load of shows coming up, and I got a call on this Saturday morning. It was my mum. Beta, I need you to come home. Immediately, your sister's in hospital. She's had an accident. And my response was, what, again? Now, forgive me, but the year before, unfortunately, my sister had an accident on the road with a bike. So you can understand my reaction. Anyway, I made my way to London, and I was met with the terrible news that an accident where 2 victims had fallen onto the tracks of a London Underground station and were hit by a train. One victim that night did not survive, may he rest in peace, and my sister ended up in intensive care. The doctors gave her a 20 to 30% chance of survival. And if she were to survive, she would never walk again. And if she were to survive, she would probably sustain huge brain damage because of the contusion to her head. 8 months later, my sister turned up to my graduation on a beautiful sunny day in a wheelchair. I was happy. She did not let her accident or the fact that she was in a wheelchair define who she was. She owned who she was. And I couldn't have been prouder. Today, my sister walks, my sister runs, my sister lifts, and she is a force. She's an energy healer, a trauma counselor, and she inspires people wherever she goes. And in December 2024, we had, as a family, her 18th rebirth date. And she said something at this event that I want to share with you, because it was both inspiring and haunting. She said, if the accident had been any less horrific, any less life-changing, any less tragic, it wouldn't have been enough to jolt her back to get on course with her life. Now that alone just sends shivers down my spine, just thinking about it. Nothing but gratitude for the pain that she'd endured. So I want to share with you a simple framework, 4 steps of how you can own your own truth. It's an easy word to remember. Real. R-E-A-L. Let's go through it. R is to recognize your truth. Dial up the volume on your self-awareness. Ask yourself a question. What are the parts of me that I've been editing for other people so I can fit in? Identify where you feel most alive, and those will give you the clues to where you are your true, authentic self. E is to embrace your uniqueness. Flip your flaws into fuel that will drive you, and surround yourself with people who don't just tolerate you, but they celebrate who you truly are. A is to act without permission. You don't need permission. Take ownership, be courageous, and really step into your power. Because don't need to wait for anyone to give you permission. You don't need to wait for anyone to validate you like I did for my entire life. And look, I get it. This is scary. But remember that fear and growth go hand in hand. So if you feel scared, know that you're on the right track. And finally, L. Live it loudly. Don't just know your truth. Express yourself fully. And show up every single day in a way that is with your relationships, your career, your friendships. And share yourself. Share your story unapologetically, vulnerably, and watch as you see these beautiful connections form, first and foremost with yourself and then with others. This is the framework that I have used. This is what I use on every single day. And it's enabled me the opportunity to be on this stage with you today and to live a life without limitations. Thank you.